Welcome to Consumer Update. I'm Kelly Lightbourne. Thanks so much for joining us today. Well, you may have heard of the Mosaic company. Perhaps you've seen their television commercials. But what you might not know is how important a role they play, not only in Florida, but in the world. Joining us today is ecologist Grant Likens and environmental specialist Michelle Sims. Thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, obviously this is a topic I think a lot of people don't know about. I can say I, for one, don't know about it. Tell us exactly what you guys do for Florida.
Well, for Florida, we're one of the #1 providers of phosphate for the United States, and we're also global as well. We do a phosphate mining company where we extract the phosphate, which is one of the key ingredients for fertilizer.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that Florida has been a major source of phosphate for a century, I think, is what I was reading.
Since the 1880s, there's a long history of phosphate mining in Florida and many advances that have taken place in the last 40 years as well with what we can do with reclamation after phosphate mining.
Now, when you say reclamation, what do you mean by that?
Restoring the land after we've extracted the resource.
Okay, and I think it's important because a lot of times we think of, Florida as a big tourist place. It's, we have our oranges that we rely on in farming, but we really don't think about this as being a major component. But you guys employ a lot of people in the state of Florida, don't you?
Yes, we have roughly 4,000 employees in Florida alone, but that does not include all the contractors that we use as well, which is almost double that.
See, that's amazing. That's amazing. So tell us what you do. Besides the mining for phosphate, you guys also are really involved with the environment, like you were saying, reclaiming the environment. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm a reclamation ecologist, meaning I take care of the reclamation, but there's another side to that where I also take care of the wildlife before we mine and also manage it after we mine to make sure all the essential wildlife is taken care of on our properties before we get into an area and mine it.
See, I think that's a huge kudos for your company because obviously it's a big deal.
Yes, it is one of the unsung heroes of what we do. We're a major phosphate producer, but what people don't realize is we also are leading the way in wildlife relocations and translocations.
So you guys are more than just a mining and manufacturing company,
Correct.
Clearly.
Yes, reclamation is one of our biggest products that most people aren't real aware of.
There's many approvals that we have to have prior to ever breaking ground, and it requires a large team. And this is approvals from not only the regulatory agencies, but also from other organizations within the community. We want to make sure that the plan we have in place is the best possible outcome to use that opportunity of phosphate mining for the environment.
Now, Mosaic is very focused also on creating like the abundant food sources, and explain that a little bit.
Well, our motto is we help the world grow the food it needs. And without fertilizer, we have a hard time producing enough food to feed the world. 75% of our shares are stay within the U.S., but we're also global. So our main focus is providing fertilizer so these farmers can produce the food we need.
I was saying, and how vital is that? Obviously, I mean,
It's
you just said it, but
essential,
it really is essential, and I think
it
people
is
don't
essential
realize.
to human life. Yeah, I mean, we just simply can't support the amount of people we have right now without fertilizer.
What else does your company do? Like, what distinguishes you from other companies? Is it the fact that you do, the reclaiming?
It is the large-scale
huge.
reclamation. I mean, this is one of the largest reclamation projects in Florida to date. We have several hundred thousands of acres of reclamation that we are required by law and through the agencies to reclaim once we're done mining.
Well, speaking of, we have Earth Day right around the corner and Arbor Day. How does your company play a role in that?
Every day is Arbor Day.
That's a good point.
As far as reclamation goes, we take the opportunity to restore habitats that may have been altered in the past. We take the opportunity to enhance habitats that may not be mined. We also use that opportunity of putting back habitat that may not have been there since the 1940s. But again, planting trees, planting wetland trees, upland trees, creating wetlands, creating upland habitat, that is every day on the properties as far as after reclamation's occurring.
And I know one thing that I read that made me smile when you just said about replanting trees. You guys plant over 1 million trees a year.
More accurately, we probably plant around 4 to 5 million trees a
Really?
year. And
That makes me smile even more.
Probably somewhere around 10 to 12 million plants a year. That's not including all the direct seed and the topsoil transfers and the muck hauling and the wetland sod that we do on top of that.
Okay, and what about the work that you do with the local community? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We support all our local communities in every way we can. Education is one of the biggest ones. We we like to educate the community on wildlife and reclamation and what we do.
Okay. Just a little bit more about you guys. How did you get involved in this? Obviously, this is an interesting field. How did you get involved in it?
Well, I started after graduating from Florida Southern with a biology degree and had the opportunity to start as an intern with the Department of Environmental Protection, working on land management on formerly mined phosphate land. And that opened up my eyes as far as the amount of restoration potential that occurs during this process. And then through the years migrated from the department to work for former CF Florida operations, and then now recently acquired by Mosaic. So I get to be part of that larger team now.
Well, I think people don't realize that it's a passion for you guys,
Absolutely.
and I can see it in your eyes, and I'm glad that we're entrusting you with the environment because you guys are being responsible for it, and I think that's huge.
We have a very unique situation where Michelle and I are able to, reclaim so much land. Not many people have the opportunity to tackle such a big job and put Florida back the way it should be, back to its natural state.
And when you say the way it should be, I mean, are we talking about the lands? We're talking about the environment?
A little bit of everything. Back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, Central Florida was altered greatly, very much like South Florida in the Everglades. A lot of people don't realize that, cattle farming and industry came in and ruined a lot of Central Florida. Well, what we do and what we're required to do as part of our reclamation process is put it back to a native habitat.
And when you say that,
native to old style Florida, old school Florida,
Wow.
back to before development came in. That's our goal, is to put it back the way it was.
We have an opportunity to restore cleared wetlands and replace it with vital flourishing wetlands with more seed source, more food potential, a better food chain. We have the opportunity as well to take ditched systems and replace them with natural stream systems.
one of Mosaic's main missions is to actually help feed the world. So how do you guys do that?
We do that through providing crop nutrition. We provide a product that helps grow the food we need, and without that product, we can't grow the amount of food that we need to feed the world.
So it really is vital.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is essential to crop nutrition.
You guys have a pretty big job. I mean, that's a pretty big responsibility. So I know personally, as a, born and bred Floridian, I thank you for it because, sometimes we don't think about that. And so we have you and Mosaic to think about that. So thank you.
And much of the land that we're reclaiming will end up being protected for the long term under conservation easements or donated to other groups. But it will be protected for future generations as well.
Now, how do people find out more about what you guys do? Because it's very interesting to me. Is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, we have mosaic.com they can go to. I mean, we're
perfect.
pretty easy to find on the internet these days. We're a big company and we have a whole staff just dedicated to the website and what we do, and we post a lot of stuff on there for people to enjoy.
So if you want to learn a little bit more about what they do, now we know where to go.
There you
Thank
go.
you so much. A lot of great information. And when we come back, we'll be talking about physician-supervised weight loss. So don't go away.